The rain was relentless. It spilled from the sky like sorrow too heavy to be held back, soaking the platform, the steel rails, and every tired waiting passenger beneath the dim yellow lights. People shuffled under umbrellas, cursing the delay, glancing at their watches, complaining into phones. But Wine stood still. Wine hated train stations, the chaos, the filth, the odd sense of nostalgia they brought. She was returning to a city she didn't want to belong to anymore, a job she didn't love, a fiance who loved her more than she loved him, or maybe not at all. She was lost in her thoughts, tapping her phone aimlessly when she noticed him, a lone man sitting at the far end of the bench, no luggage, no umbrella, just a sketchbook in his hand and earbuds plugged in. His head was down, black hoodie pulled up, but something about him looked achingly still, like he wasn't just waiting for the train. He was escaping something. Wine didn't mean to stare, but the rain danced around him like he didn't belong in it, and he looked up. Dark eyes, disinterested, but sharp, like he would caught her staring 3 seconds ago and let her have that moment anyway. He pulled one earbud out. "You always stare at strangers like that?" he said flatly. "Or am I just lucky tonight?" Wine blinked. "You don't look like the lucky type." He smirked faintly. "Neither do you." She was annoyed and slightly amused. "Wow, do you flirt like this often, or this is your special rainy day personality?" "I don't flirt," he replied. "I just make observations. Are welcome too, unless you are the polite kind who never says what they are thinking." "I'm not polite," she said. "I think you look like a sad boy from a bad poem." He chuckled, the sound low and unexpected. "A sad boy from a bad poem? That's new." There was a pause, not awkward, just thick with something unspoken. The storm softened around them as if listening. "What are you sketching?" she asked, surprising even herself. He turned the sketchpad around. It wasn't finished, but it was beautiful. A woman standing alone in the rain, facing a train she might never board. Her outline was blurred at the edges, as if she was already fading away. Wine inhaled. "That's someone I haven't met yet," he said, "or maybe already lost. I'm not sure." She felt a shiver, one that wasn't from the cold. Just then, a voice blared from the overhead speakers. Her train was arriving. She stood up slowly, heart racing without reason. Jungkook didn't ask her name. She didn't offer it. The moment was too raw, too accidental to ruin with labels. Wine walked away. But just before she stepped into the train, she turned around. He was still watching her. Neither of them smiled. Neither of them waved. But in that rain-soaked second, something silent passed between them. Not love, not fate, just something. Something dangerous. Enough to be remembered. That was their first meet. It had been 11 days since that night on the platform, since the sketchpad, since him. Vine tried not to think about it, or him, but the memory kept tugging at her during the most random moments, while pouring coffee, while brushing her teeth, while listening to her fiancé drone on about granite countertop options for the new apartment. She didn't even know his name, and yet his silence had left an echo in her. She tried to forget him, but life was always had other plans. It was a cafe this time. Rain again, of course. She was running late from a client meeting and ducked into the nearest cafe to avoid getting drenched. It was the kind of place that smelled like wet books and cinnamon, soft jazz playing low. She was just about to grab the last empty table when, "Looks like you're following me," said a voice, calm, rough, and unmistakably familiar. Her eyes darted up. There he was, same hoodie, same tired eyes, only this time he had a coffee in his hand instead of a sketchpad. Vine blinked. "You are the one in my city. You are following me." He raised an eyebrow. "We met once, accidentally. Twice now, still accidentally." He gestured at the empty chair across from him. "We could argue across separate tables, or you could just sit." Vine didn't know why she did it. Maybe because she was tired of pretending she wanted what her life had become. Maybe because his voice had the calm her chaos was craving. She sat. They didn't talk for a few minutes. She sipped her coffee. He scribbled something in his notebook. The rain whispered outside. Then finally she asked, "Do you always talk to random women at stations and cafes like this?" "No," he said, eyes not leaving his page. "Just the ones who look like they are running from something." That made her freeze a little. "I'm not." "You are," he said simply, meeting her eyes now. "It's in the way you check the door every 10 seconds and how your smile doesn't touch your eyes." Vine hated how he read her like that. She hated that he was right. "So, what's your story?" she asked, folding her arms. He looked amused. "You asked that like it was simple." "Humor me," he buzzed, then offered. "Once loved someone, lost them, now I paint. That's a condensed version." "Is it recent? Is the ache ever not recent?" He replied quietly. Vine looked away. They said nothing for a while. Just sipped coffee and let the weight of invisible memories hang in the air. Eventually she asked, "Your name?" He looked like he almost didn't want to give it. But then, "Jungkook, and you?" he added after a bit. She hesitated. Then, "Vine." He nodded like he already knew it. She stood suddenly. This was strange." "Yeah, but not bad." Her fingers twitched at her side. She didn't want to go, but she did. And just as she reached the door, he called out, "You forgot something." She turned. "What?" Jungkook tilted his head. "The next time we meet accidentally, it won't be an accident." She told herself not to go, not to pass the cafe again, not to glance at the door hoping he would walk through it, not to remember the way Jungkook said her name, like it was a question he wanted to keep asking. "Why am I feeling like this?" "Behave, Vine, you are engaged." But it's hard to ignore someone who starts living in your mind. Even harder when they somehow start to feel more real than the people already in your life. It was a Tuesday. Sky was dull and grey, the kind of color that makes everything that feels like a sad memory. Vine had stepped into a bookstore after a work meeting. She wasn't looking for anything, just breathing, pretending, and there he was, in the corner, back turned, head tilted to read the spine of a poetry book. Her heart did something it had no business doing. "This is getting ridiculous," she muttered before she could stop herself. He turned, slow and amused. "Third time's charm." Vine folded her arms, smirking despite herself. "I'm starting to think you're stalking me." "Same city, same rain, same taste in hiding spots. Maybe the universe is lazy," he said, his voice easy but his eyes sharp. Vine walked closer, letting her fingers run along the shelf. Do you believe in fate? She asked. No, he said it too quickly, too firmly. Why not? Because fate pulls you up just to rip it all away, he said. It lets you fall in love at the worst possible time and then makes you pay for it. She blinked. Is that what happened to you? Jungkook stared at her, then quietly. That's a story for later if we have one. Yvonne didn't answer. She didn't know how to. They ended up walking to the lake nearby. No reason, no plan, just steps taken slowly together. They didn't talk about the past, not hers, not his. Instead, they laughed about the books they hated, foods they loved, the most embarrassing things they had ever done. It felt freeing, like stepping out of a life that was too tight and into one that finally let you breathe. It was dusk when they reached the water. The world around them was golden and still, quiet in a way that made everything feel louder between them. She turned to him. You said the sketch was of someone you hadn't met yet. He looked at her, expression unreadable. Maybe I was wrong. Wine's breath caught in her thought. Their eyes held, no words left. Just distance and all the unsaid things that hung between them like the hush before a storm. She should have walked away, but she didn't, and neither did he. They started to seeing each other more often after that, not planned, not arranged, just somehow they kept orbiting the same places. A coffee shop on Thursdays, a bookstore on Saturdays, a bench near the lake when the sky looked heavy, and it never felt forced. Jungkook didn't ask why she always seemed to have time, and Wine never asked why he always looked like he hadn't slept in days. They didn't talk about their lives outside these little windows of escape. No mention of her engagement, no mention of his past. It was unspoken agreement. What existed out there wasn't allowed in here. And maybe that's why it felt safe, or maybe that's why it felt so damn dangerous. They were sitting on his studio floor on an evening. Paint-stained newspapers were spread everywhere. The walls around them were covered in unfinished canvases. Grief, heartbreak, longing, all twisted in color. Wine picked up a small, crumpled canvas from the corner. It was different from others. It was bright. Sunlight breaking through storm clouds. She held it up. This one doesn't hurt. Jungkook looked over. That was the first thing I painted after she died. Vine froze. He rarely spoke of her. He took the canvas gently from her hands, resting it beside him. His voice dropped into something barely above a whisper. She was light. I was not. I think I ruined her. Or maybe she ruined me by leaving. Wine wanted to reach for him, but didn't. Instead, she asked, And now? Now I paint pain better than love. She nodded slowly, then whispered, Maybe I feel too much and you feel too little. He looked at her, something unreadable flashing in his eyes. I feel everything, Wine, he said. I just don't show it because when I did, I lost everything. Silence filled between them. Not cold, just quiet. She leaned back, eyes on the ceiling. Sometimes I want to scream into a pillow, just to remember what my voice sounds like when it's not pretending to be fine. That made him turn to look at her fully. He didn't speak, he just slowly reached out and took her hand. No pressure, no demand, just a grounding warmth in the middle of their shared mess. They sat like that for a long time, fingers interlaced, pain breathing between them like a third presence. Later, she fell asleep on the floor, her head on his shoulder. He didn't move for hours, because for the first time in years, something in his world felt quiet, not silent, just peaceful. Like maybe, just maybe, the world has stopped spinning for them, just for a little while. Another day. It started on a cold evening. The sky was heavy with rain again, and the studio was lit only by the fairy lights strung carelessly across the wall. Music played softly in the background, some old jazz record that crackled like a heartbeat with every note. Wine stood in front of one of Jungkook's canvases, sipping wine from a cheap mug. "This one feels like drowning," she murmured, eyes tracing the streaks of grey and blue. Jungkook was sitting on the floor, back against the wall, watching her instead of the painting. "That one is drowning," he said softly. "I painted it the day I realized I would never stop missing her." Wine turned to him slowly. "And now?" He shrugged. "Now I miss someone else when I'm not supposed to." Her heart thudded too loudly. The air between them grew thick. Too many truths hiding just beneath the surface. "Jungkook," she whispered. He stood, closed the space between them. "You don't have to say anything," he said, voice low. "I just—" She kissed him, soft, shaky, hesitant, like stepping out of the edge of something without checking how deep the fall was. They didn't rush, they didn't speak. Every moment was slow, reverent, like neither of them believed it was real. His fingers traced the curve of her back, like she was made of stories. Her lips found the hollow of his throat, the scars on his chest. She memorized him in whispers and trembles. And when they finally collapsed into each other, skin to skin, soul to soul, it wasn't lust, it wasn't recklessness, it was ache, a silent kind of longing that screamed between them. He held her like she was the first thing that had ever felt safe. She touched him like he was a wound that didn't want to heal. Outside, the rain softened into a drizzle. Inside, two hearts broke together quietly. Later, tangled in sheets and that smelled like paint and cologne, Wine whispered, "We can't do this again." "I know," he said, pressing his lips to her shoulder. Neither of them moved. "We don't even love each other," she added, as if saying it would make it true. He didn't argue, but his silence was louder than any confession.